Do I find politics here in the Mahoning County different from anywhere else in the country? Not really. The only thing is we're a little bit more bold with the way we pay politics. You know, people ask me all the time, am I a Democrat? Am I a Republican? I'm a Democrat, but actually I'm a independent. But I file as a Democrat. But I couldn't care less about the Democratic Party and I couldn't care less about the Republican Party. I'm disappointed in both of them. The politics that we have here in the Mahoning Valley is a reflection of the whole country, but we play a little tougher game. We had a congressman, and I'm sure everybody on this knows who this I'm talking about when I say Jim Trafficking, because he was very colorful, you know, who went to prison, who went to jail for what he did. You look at the Mahoning Valley, and this goes clear back, our record. You look at our mayor that we have here in Youngstown today, McNally. He had 32 federal indictments against him. He made a plea bargain. He admitted that he did some things wrong. He took a plea bargain. We have the only mayor here in the United States of America that has to report to a parole officer. You know, and you ask me about politics here, and you know what? I blame basically the Democratic Party, and keep in mind I'm a Democrat. Now, why do I blame the Democratic Party? Because this is a one-party valley. The Democrats are in control. I'm a Democrat. But yet, as an African-American Democrat, I feel that the Democratic Party is doing very little for me in this area. In fact, in the state of Ohio. That was one of the reasons why we did this thing in 2010. And when I say we, I had a companion here, a young Mark Heron. We did something called Blackout 2010. And what we did, because we were so angry, we were angry about the minority purchasing. We have a set aside in the state of Ohio, and 15% of all goods and services should go to minority businesses. And at the time, I think 2 or 3% was only going to minority businesses. We were angry about that. We were angry about the situation with the police departments, the way African Americans were treated. We were angry with the job situation, especially here in Mahoning Valley. We were angry at the fact that in the state of Ohio, we have never, ever elected a black person on a state level. It's embarrassing, but yet we're Democrats, and the Democrats at the time were basically controlling everything. We had a Democrat governor, Ted Strickland, who is now running for Senate against Senator Ron Portman, a Republican. We talked to Governor Strickland, and we told him we need help here in the Mahoning Valley. We're staunch Democrats, unions and blacks. That's the key to the Democratic Party, and that's what we basically have here in the Mahoning Valley. We're your key. Well, we got little response. So we were angry. Mark and I were very angry, so we said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to tell all the black folks to go vote. Go vote. Get out and vote. It's your right to vote. People died for you to have a right to vote. But you know what? We're going to boycott the governor's election. We're going to boycott the governor's election. We're not going to vote. Black people are not going to vote in the governor's race. Well, here's what that did in the state of Ohio. Here in the state of Ohio, a Democrat cannot win a statewide office unless they have about 125,000 votes from the northeastern part of the state, because the southern part of the state is basically Republican. The strongest constituents in the Democratic Party are unions and African Americans. So we went to Cleveland, we went to Cincinnati, we went to Dayton, Toledo, we went all over the state of Ohio, and we encouraged black people, withhold your vote in the governor's race, and we called it Blackout 2010. By withholding their vote, eroding the vote, the black vote, that would stymie the Democratic vote. And what happened was Governor Strickland lost his race by 2% to Kasich, Governor Kasich. Strickland lost by 2%. If Strickland could have got 2 or 3 African Americans out in predominantly African American precincts, he would have been the governor. He would have won the governorship. We did this to show the strength of the African American vote, and what we're telling people is we're no longer going to take this. We're no longer going to be taken for granted. We give here in the state of Ohio, we give 85% of our vote. When I say we, African American, we give 85% of our vote to the Democratic Party. What do we get in return? In the city of Warren, Trumbull County, which is in Trumbull County, the Board of Elections in 44 years has only had one African American that's ever worked for the Board of Elections in 44 years. One African American. And when that African American retired, they hired her son. We have never in Trumbull County, in the history of Trumbull County, have we ever had an African American elected on the county level. These are the kind of things that we're sick of. And here in Youngstown, and I tell people all the time, all over the state of Ohio, Youngstown should be the Mecca for African Americans in the state of Ohio. Take a look at Youngstown. Take a look at it. But there again, it's controlled by Democrats. And we give the Democrats 85% of our vote, but what do we get in return? Here last week, in the city of Youngstown, Hillary Clinton, a presidential candidate, she came into our city, and she has to have our votes throughout the state in order to win the state of Ohio. She has to have a strong African American vote. My question is, has anybody sat down with Hillary and said, if we give you our vote as African Americans, what are you going to do for us? What are you going to do for the Mahoning Valley? Once the quick story I want to tell you. Several years ago, when Bill Clinton was running for president, him and Gore was running for our vice president, in Boardman, Ohio, I remember as plain as if it was yesterday, I was looking right in Bill Clinton's mouth, and he promised us that if we supported him and he became president of the United States of America, one of the first things he was going to do, he was going to build a high-tech center here in the Mahoning Valley between Warren and Youngstown. It would employ about 3,000 people. And we jumped up and down and we was happy and we're going to get these jobs. So the unions and African Americans and we all went out and we pushed for Bill Clinton to become president. He won the state of Ohio. 3-4 months after he was elected, Bill Clinton, after he was elected president of the United States of America, what did he do? Well, his Secretary of Defense, Lee Aspen, he went on television and said, well, we changed our mind. We're going to put the high-tech center outside of Washington. I never forgot that. And that was one of my first real sticking points as far as the Democratic Party. Now, the Republican Party is no better. And I've told the Republicans, you take our vote for granted that we're not going to vote Republicans. So you let the Democrats take our vote, and the Democrats take us for granted because they give us nothing in return. And it angers me. When Hillary Clinton came here last week, my question, and I asked several of the so-called black leaders, did you sit down with Hillary Clinton? Did you ask her, if we support you, Hillary, what are you going to do for the Mahoning Valley? What are you going to do for us? We're tired of just giving you our vote and then you disappear and we don't see you no more. On the other side of the fence, you Republicans are just as guilty because you don't come and sit down and ask us. You don't fight for the black vote. You just take it for granted black folks are not going to vote for you because you're Republicans. So we're kind of caught in the middle. And I've said this 100 times. Before I was a Republican, I was black. Before I was a Democrat, I was black. You see? So our blackness comes first. Now, is there anything wrong with that? No. Every special interest group in the country, and we are a special interest group, looks out for their own well-being. But we as black folks, we don't do this. We inadvertently give the Democratic Party 85% of our vote with no questions asked. We don't ask for anything in return. So that's what the blackout was all about. We were saying, you know what? And this came from a good friend of mine, I won't say her name, black out our voices and we'll black out our vote.